If you are reading this, congratulations. You have already won the most important fight, the fight to stay engaged, curious, and planning for tomorrow. But if you're like millions of people over 60, you also carry a specific quiet fear. It often wakes you up around 3 a.m. It is the fear of becoming a burden. It is the image that haunts us, the day we can no longer dress ourselves, the moment we have to ask a child, "Can you move in? I can't manage the steps anymore." The slow, heartbreaking realization that your life is now a permanent obligation on the people you love the most. You did not work your whole life, raise a family, and build a peaceful corner of the world just to end up feeling like a heavy suitcase your children have to drag around. This video is not about scolding you. It is about protection. It is about understanding that becoming a burden is rarely a sudden event. It is the result of 3 specific silent habits, small, seemingly harmless routines that we adopt slowly, almost unconsciously, after 60. They chip away at your independence, your financial security, and your peace of mind until one day the structure collapses. The good news? There is still time. If you recognize these habits today, you can stop them by tomorrow morning. We are going to tackle the 3 pillars of aging with dignity: your body, your money, and your home. Let's start with the most critical one, the one that guarantees a loss of independence faster than any financial mistake. Derpitudu silent habit, Jibruduan, the retreat of the body. This silent habit is the slow, deliberate reduction of physical challenge in your daily life. It sounds innocent. It feels like self-care. It might look like taking the electric cart at the grocery store, even when your knees feel fine. Or deciding to put the laundry room downstairs, but choosing to store all the sheets in the linen closet upstairs because you only visit that one once a week. The silent habit is allowing comfort to become the enemy of strength. When you were younger, your body was constantly challenged. Lifting children, carrying heavy bags of soil, running for the bus. Those tiny daily stresses kept your muscles engaged. Now, we look for efficiency. We use the grab it tool instead of bending over. We order delivery instead of walking to the corner store. We choose the lowest shelf in the kitchen because reaching up feels like work. Every single time you choose the easier path, you are sending a clear, dangerous message to your body. We no longer need that muscle. And once your body believes a muscle is unnecessary, it begins to eliminate it. This is how independence disappears. It is not the sudden fall that defines the crisis. The crisis is the slow decay of the strength required to catch yourself when you trip. Think about this scenario. You're standing in the kitchen, washing dishes. You drop a spoon. It clatters to the floor. If you're 45, you sigh and squat down. If you're 75, and you have engaged in the retreat of the body for 10 years, your brain does the calculation. Bending over is hard. Getting back up requires bracing on the counter. The spoon can wait. That calculation, that hesitation to bend, reach, or stand unsupported, is the early warning sign of becoming fragile. When you lose the ability to move without relying on furniture or walls, you are one quick movement away from needing full-time care. The simple shift, the 3-minute rule. How do you reverse this quiet retreat? We are not talking about joining a CrossFit class. We are talking about incorporating small daily challenges back into your routine. This is the 3-minute rule. Your goal is to find 3 minutes every single day where you deliberately make life slightly less convenient for the sake of your strength. 1. The coffee challenge. When you make your coffee or tea in the morning, stand at the counter for 2 minutes, holding yourself up without leaning or bracing your weight on the countertop. This engages your core and balance muscles. 2. The laundry walk. If you keep your laundry basket beside the machine, change its location. Move it to the other side of the room. You must walk across the room, bend, lift, and pivot to put clothes in the washer. This may sound silly, but these small actions keep the hip flexors and rotator cuffs active. 3. The unassisted stand. This is the most crucial part of protecting your independence. Once a day, preferably before dinner when you might feel tired, Practice standing up from a chair without using your hands for support. Do this 5 times. If you struggle, that is your body telling you exactly where the weakness lies. If you can get up and down 5 times easily, your independence is secure for now. Keep practicing. The goal is to maintain the strength needed for a graceful fall recovery, and ideally, to prevent the fall in the first place. Remember, protecting your physical strength is the ultimate gift of independence you give to your children. You're not being selfish. You're being proactive. You're designing a life where you never have to move into the guest bedroom, or worse, the downstairs room with the hospital bed, simply because you forgot how to get up from a low sofa. We have secured the body for today, but a fragile body is only half the battle. If your physical independence is protected, your mental and financial peace must follow. In the next section, we're going to dive deep into silent habit number 2, the subtle way financial anxiety and avoidance can turn your savings into a time bomb, forcing difficult decisions onto your family when you are least able to make them. We need to talk about the papers stacked in the drawer, the statements you haven't opened, and the single biggest mistake people over 70 make that empties their retirement funds without them even noticing. Stay with me. This next habit is about protecting your peace. We've talked about the quiet ways we can surrender our hard-won independence without even knowing it, simply by making choices that seem easy now, but cost us everything later. The path to independence is paved with small, deliberate actions. We must now look at the second silent habit. This one is perhaps the most insidious, because it dresses up as comfort, and it hides in plain sight. Silent habit. Number 2, the sedentary slip and the cluttered comfort. This habit is the slow, steady surrender of your physical body and your safe environment. It is believing that rest is always the best choice, and that the minor discomfort of exertion isn't worth the effort. After 60, rest is wonderful. We deserve to sit down, enjoy the quiet, and slow our pace. But we must be fiercely careful not to confuse rest with rigidity. When we stop using our bodies, we don't just get weak. We invite the irreversible cascade toward dependency. Think about the simple act of standing up. If you're sitting in a deep, comfortable armchair, the kind you sink into, and you need to rock 3 times or push hard off the arms just to get your feet under you, you are already seeing the warning signs. That weakness isn't just inconvenient. That weakness is what prevents you from catching yourself when you stumble over a loose carpet thread. That weakness means the doctor's visit, the hospital bed, and the devastating realization that you might not return home the way you left. A fall, statistically, is the single fastest route to becoming a full-time burden on your family. It is the immediate loss of self-sufficiency, and falls are almost always preventable. The silent habit here is twofold: the surrender of movement and the surrender of environmental control. Let's talk about movement first. You do not need to join a gym. You do not need to run marathons. You need to keep your functional strength, the power to live in your own house, under your own steam. Functional strength is the ability to open a stiff jar lid without asking for help. It's the ability to step confidently into the shower without grabbing the wall for dear life. It's the ability to lift a bag of groceries or a giggling grandchild without pain radiating through your back. If you are choosing the elevator over 2 flights of stairs, choosing to wait for someone to carry the laundry basket, or finding excuses not to walk to the mailbox because it's too far, you are prioritizing short-term comfort over long-term freedom. The wisdom here is simple. Use it or lose the ability to live alone. Every day, find 10 minutes to fight back against gravity. While the kettle boils, stand up and sit down 10 times without using your hands. Hold onto the kitchen counter and do 5 heel raises. When you reach for something on a high shelf, deliberately stretch. These small, 10-minute battles are your shield against the hospital. They are the daily deposit in your independence account. Now, let's talk about the second part of this silent habit, the cluttered comfort. Our homes are supposed to be our sanctuary, our safe haven, But after 60, if we aren't diligent, our homes become silent traps. This isn't about being a minimalist. This is about acknowledging reality. As our vision changes, as our gait shifts, and as our reaction time slows, the things we used to overlook become hazards. That stack of old magazines next to the recliner, that is now an ankle turner in the dark. That beautifully patterned throw rug in the hallway, that is a slip hazard waiting for a rushed moment. The dark corner by the front door where you keep the gardening tools, that is a guaranteed bruise or broken bone when you try to leave quickly at night. The silent habit of cluttered comfort is telling yourself, I'll get to it later. It's ignoring the cracked sidewalk outside or the burnt-out light bulb in the stairwell. The emotional burden we dread, the need for a child to move you, or hire expensive in-home care, often starts not with a major illness, but with a simple trip and fall inside your own supposedly safe house. When a fall happens, the shame and the physical injury are compounded by the realization that you could have prevented it, and your children rushing over see the chaos that caused the accident. They stop seeing you as independent. They start seeing you as fragile and vulnerable. This realization immediately triggers the family conversation you desperately want to avoid. Maybe mom shouldn't be alone anymore. The wisdom here is preventative maintenance, applied to your environment. Walk through your home today with the eyes of a safety inspector, not a homeowner. Remove every throw rug. Add nightlights to the path between the bedroom and the bathroom. No excuses. Clear the walkway from the front door to the kitchen. If you cannot reach something safely, keep it on the counter or hire someone to move it. Do not attempt the step stool, ever. When you manage your movement and manage your environment, you are actively preserving your freedom. You're telling your body and your family that you're serious about holding onto your independence for the long haul. This is not superficial work. It is essential protection. But independence isn't just about physical movement or the safety of the floorboards. It is fundamentally about our peace of mind and the clarity of our decisions, especially when those decisions involve money and how we share our lives. The final, most destructive habit we must address attacks your core identity and security, making you emotionally, rather than physically, dependent. This third habit undermines your peace, and it is usually committed in silence, deep within your personal finances and your willingness to connect. We must look now at the consequences of emotional and financial isolation, and how this quiet withdrawal guarantees you will need rescuing later. We've looked closely at how we move our bodies and how we manage our surroundings. These two areas, when neglected, absolutely pave the path to unwanted dependence. They make the burden real. But there is a third habit. It is perhaps the most insidious, because it hides behind a very respectable mask, the mask of quiet strength. We call it the silent habit of emotional retreat. This habit whispers, I am fine. I don't need anyone. I can handle this myself. It's the habit that leads us to gradually shut the front door a little tighter, turn down invitations, and rely solely on the comfort of yesterday's routines. When we retreat emotionally, we stop exercising our social and intellectual muscles. We stop learning. We become brittle, like an old vase that shatters with the slightest bump. Think about what happens when crisis hits. Perhaps it's the sudden loss of a spouse, or a severe diagnosis, or even just the confusion of a complicated new system, like switching to a new Medicare plan. If you have been living in total emotional retreat, that crisis leaves you stranded. Your children must step in, not just to assist, but often to take over completely. That is the moment independence truly slips away, and you become momentarily a heavy weight. One of the biggest culprits in this emotional retreat today is the fear of technology. You might dismiss the smartphone or the computer as too much hassle. You say, it's for the young people. But think about the quiet independence you surrender by refusing to learn basic digital skills. Every time a bill needs to be paid online, every time you need to check a doctor's portal or even schedule an appointment, you have to call someone else. You are trading a small amount of frustration and effort now for a large amount of dependence later. Learning basic technology isn't about becoming a whiz kid. It's about building a digital walker. It is a tool for self-reliance. It protects you from needing to ask a busy adult child to drive across town simply to print a form or explain a bank statement. Mastering small modern tasks is the greatest armor against becoming a burden. But emotional wisdom isn't just about learning new apps, it's about communication and preparedness. The real burden we often place on our children is the burden of guessing. They worry constantly because they don't know your wishes. They are forced to make agonizing decisions under immense pressure because you were afraid to bring up difficult subjects when you were healthy. Have you written down your wishes? Not just the financial will, but the healthcare directive. Have you talked honestly about what happens if you can no longer drive, or if you can no longer live alone? I know these conversations feel heavy. They feel like conceding defeat. But true dignity is found in facing the inevitable, with preparation, not avoidance. When you proactively discuss your preferences for future care, who will make decisions, what level of intervention you desire, you are performing a profound act of love. You are relieving your family of the agonizing guesswork and the potential for conflict later. This is the opposite of being a burden. This is providing clarity and peace. The person who avoids this emotional retreat is the one who actively cultivates their social ties. Before, they are desperate. They understand that asking for small amounts of help occasionally is healthy and necessary. This is the difference between asking for help while you still maintain control and desperately needing care when you have lost control. The emotionally wise person joins the weekly book club, volunteers at the library, or calls a neighbor just to chat. They are building small bridges of connection and mutual care. When they have a sudden crisis, a cold, a minor fall, a temporary inability to drive, the bridge is already there. Help flows naturally, without fanfare or shame. The person defined by emotional retreat, however, spends years building high, thick walls. When they finally fall, there is no bridge, and the family must bring in a crane to break down the wall to reach them. That is when the burden feels heaviest. True independence in our later years is not the refusal to need anyone. It is the ability to choose who we rely on, for what purpose, and when. We have now confronted the three silent habits: the physical stasis, the organizational paralysis, and the emotional retreat. Facing these fears protects your dignity far more than silence ever could. But there is one final, crucial mistake many wise elders make, a mistake that undermines all three of these habits. It involves a fundamental misunderstanding about how time works for us now. It's not about how much time you have left, but how you perceive and utilize the value of the hour you are currently in. This final error costs us our most precious resource, leading to deep regret and missed opportunity. We will confront this final, vital piece of wisdom in our next section, the greatest secret to turning fear into peaceful, lasting independence. We have examined the quiet slide into dependency, focusing first on the physical habits that steal your strength, and then the emotional ones that isolate your heart. But there is one final silent habit that guarantees chaos for your children and steals your dignity later on. This is habit number 3, the avoidance of the future file. The future file is what I call that collection of papers, those phone numbers, and those necessary conversations you keep putting off. It's the will that isn't updated. It's the drawer where the insurance policies go to die. It's the silent agreement that we will deal with it later. We avoid these things because they remind us of endings. They bring up fear and uncertainty. It feels easier to simply ignore them and enjoy the peaceful Sunday afternoon. But that peace is fake. It is merely borrowing stress from the future and piling it onto the people you love most. When we refuse to organize our financial and medical future, we are not protecting ourselves. We are creating a massive, urgent, heartbreaking burden for our family at the worst possible time. Imagine your child sitting at the hospital, worried sick about your health, and then having to call 3 different banks, search your home for passwords, and argue with insurance companies because you never wrote down the basics. That chaos is the burden you feared becoming. That stress is the loss of dignity for everyone involved. The refusal to face this future file is one of the most common ways we accidentally undermine our independence. You need to be the steward of your own later years, not just a passive passenger waiting for things to happen to you. So, what is the simple, non-overwhelming antidote to this silent habit? I call it the hour of organized peace. Do not try to solve your entire legacy in one panic attack. Instead, dedicate just 1 hour every month. Not a day, just an hour, to the future file. Treat it like a scheduled maintenance appointment for your peace of mind and the peace of your home. What do you do in that hour? First 20 minutes. Check the paperwork. Do you have a list, physically written down, of your essential logins and accounts? Not just for your banking, but for utilities, for medicine refills, for essential contacts. Keep this list secure, but make sure one trusted person knows exactly where it is kept. This small act prevents hours of painful searching. Second 20 minutes. The difficult conversation review. Have you named a power of attorney for both your health and your finances? These documents are not just for the very end. They are for the unexpected, the sudden illness, the temporary confusion that might last only a few weeks. If these are already set up, review them. Make sure the person you chose 5 years ago is still the right person today. Circumstances change, and intentions must be clear. Final 20 minutes. The financial cushion check. Sit down and look honestly at your liquid assets. This is the money you could access quickly, without penalty. Do you have enough saved or insured to cover 6 months of specialized non-routine care if you suddenly needed it? Just looking at this number, without judgment, gives you back control. If the number is too small, your mission for the next month becomes clear. Cut a small, non-essential cost, and slowly, steadily build that security cushion. This monthly hour of organized peace is not about preparing to die. It is about preparing to live, securely and independently, right up until the last day. It says to your family, I respect you. I have handled my affairs. Your only job is to love me. It is the most profound gift of independence and the most powerful armor against becoming an accidental burden. We started this journey by acknowledging the deep-seated fear of losing control. We have walked through the physical pitfalls of routine stagnation, the emotional prison of silent withdrawal, and now the financial chaos of future avoidance. In every case, the solution isn't dramatic surgery or massive expense. It's the micro-habit. It's the one small, conscious step you take today that creates dignity and security tomorrow. The key to aging well is not maximizing every single day. The key is minimizing the risk of needing help unnecessarily. It is about protecting the sanctity of your home and your peace of mind. Before we conclude this entire series with the final foundational step, the blueprint for turning these habits around and building true resilience, I want you to pause for a moment. Which of these 3 silent habits, stagnation, withdrawal, or avoidance, is the one you will attack just for the next 7 days? Choose one, the weakest link. Think about it carefully, because the true wisdom of aging is not found in the answers. It is found in the action. We have one final, overriding principle to discuss, a foundational truth that connects all of these habits. If you miss this next step, all the planning in the world will still leave you vulnerable to loneliness and eventual reliance. We will tackle the crucial topic of protective social health next. Stay with me.